So you may be asking yourself, I ask myself this from time to time, what exactly is T.REX Labs? Well, obviously it's a YouTube channel. It's the YouTube channel that you're watching right now, but it's actually more than that. T.REX Labs is technically an entire department of T.REX, all official-like, on paperwork and everything. And the purpose of T.REX Labs is kind of to be an R&D department. We're a little bit like the T.REX ARMS version of Skunkworks. Now, 10 years ago, we were all in the same shop, and T.REX was a very small number of people in a very small garage. We could all work on each other's projects really well, and I kind of miss that. But I do love all of the stuff that we can do with all of the new people that we have. And what that means is we've taken our R&D projects like holster development, and that is a team. We've worked out the development process of making holsters, whether inventing new ones or supporting holsters with new weapons and new weapon lights. We've worked that into a science. Same is true of our nylon development team. Nylon R&D is something that we pretty much worked out, and it's a pretty well-oiled machine at this point. So is our software development team that builds the back-end tools and our entire website's front end that you can see. And we use ShapeUp for all these different R&D teams, and it's a great way for us to structure individual pitches and work on those R&D sprints. So yeah, everything is all carefully delineated, well planned out. There's no fuzziness or overlap, except for the projects that don't really land in one of those three buckets. What happens to the oddball projects? What happens to the new crazy ideas that haven't been fully vetted yet? That's where T.REX Labs comes in. We want to take those sorts of projects that we used to do all together in the garage and make sure that we have a place to tinker with those and experiment with them, whether it's a small little thing that we should do inside of T.REX or playing with an idea that's going to affect the larger firearms industry, like, I don't know, the videos where we designed brand new pistol platforms for combat handgun use. Now, you might notice that T.REX Labs doesn't really have a laboratory. We're not a laboratory testing style operation. This is about as clean and clinical as things get, because we're more interested in real-world tests of real-world tools and real-world ideas, and creating educational materials around this stuff that we learn. For example, so far, the best way to get your own printed maps is Write in the Rain paper, a color toner printer, a laser printer, and CalTopo for now. But it's not just about discovering things for the purpose of creating educational tools, it's also testing products for other purposes. Sometimes it's products that we will carry and are carrying, like satellite communication, and figuring out some other stuff about that, and then also mesh-tastic stuff that you guys are specifically asking for. And we're not the only ones that are testing products in this space. I'd like to point out that Pew Science does an amazing job at a more rigorous laboratory style setting of making sure that you get actual hard data from suppressors. Low Light Defense studies weapon lights. Shan does a phenomenal job with that. And he also makes holsters, by the way. Works is his company. So the testing of stuff, the validation of stuff is incredibly important for us at T.REX ARMS, but in a general real world sense, so that we can A, tell you guys more about it, so that we can figure out what products to recommend, but also figure out what products to develop. I am hoping that we can come up with some better map tools for you in the future. And then there's also the Chameleon target system. The Chameleon target system is the perfect example of a T.REX Labs project, even though technically they predate the formation of the T.REX Labs department by about 5 years. And to be honest, there hasn't really been any competition in this particular product space in about 5 years. Just FYI, we are working on improving these things, potentially using AI, so keep an eye out for that. And that's kind of something the T.REX Labs want to do, not just find problems and solve them, but figure out what are the best ways to address some of these issues. What are the best ways to actually get the information that we need? What are some of the best ways to actually develop things in this space? And for different projects, we're going to go about doing them in different ways. Some of them we want to do in-house, like a lot of our media production. Some of them we want to outsource, like the Garmin watch face that we developed this year, we did in conjunction with True Delta. He did a fantastic job developing it and maintaining it. He's the best person to keep updating that watch when Garmin makes new watches and handle bug fixes and things like that. But then there's other projects like the Marine Rifle Squad and Scouting and Patrolling books that we republished this year. It made sense for us to retypeset all of those in-house, figure out a pipeline for that, and then send those off to different printers. The hybrid approach is something that we're doing more and more of, like on the T.REX ARMS Range Day app. We have some really good contractors helping us build that app, but we want to maintain a relationship with Google and Apple because, you know, we're such big fans. And we're getting a lot of great feedback from that app, thanks to you guys. The number of people who are giving us not only suggestions for the app, but also suggestions for other technology projects that you would like us to continue to work on. That's been really great. Some of that is good feedback for us because it ties directly into things that we're doing. Some of that feedback we're actually passing on to other companies because it ties directly into things that they are working on. Which brings me to another point that T.REX Labs is working on. As we do these different projects, especially the hybrid ones, we're building out more than just T.REX products. We're also working on something that we care deeply about and talk about occasionally, the citizen defense industry. And the citizen defense industry concept is kind of young and we're working on it. Now, technically it's not young. History is full of citizen defense industries. It's how nations used to work. But within the context of gun culture 3.0, it's a relatively new concept and we're figuring out the best ways to handle things. So that's going to involve some stuff being done inside of T.REX ARMS, but a lot of the stuff that we want to work on should happen outside amongst many other industries. So a lot of the app ideas that you have given us, like replacements for ATAC, better radio control tools, and just better mapping in general, these are things that we don't necessarily need to do here. It's probably better if we encourage other companies to start working on those products themselves so that things can be decentralized as we want them to be. And maybe the best way to do that is for T.REX Labs to develop some of the concepts for the projects or maybe be the organizers of a bounty system so other people have an incentive to start those things up and continue those things into the future. There's all sorts of different ways that we could be doing some of these different things. And then on top of that, this isn't really the department of T.REX Labs, but there is the podcast. There's a lot of political media and some political lobbying. So I guess I lied earlier about everything being clearly delineated and no fuzziness. We still have all of that stuff within the company. But as we've grown as a company, and we have had enough going on that we lose track of small projects pretty easily, having a department that does focus on those smaller projects, I think is still really helpful for being nimble and being agile when things are changing. And we think that things might be changing. As you probably know, there was an election a couple of weeks ago, and the incoming administration has said that there will be some change, particularly in the areas of government overreach, personal freedom, and American manufacturing. All those things kind of overlap T.REX a little bit. And so as we look forwards to all these things that are supposedly going to change, probably going to change, definitely within the possibility of changing, with tariffs and various other things that are going to tie into this whole gigantic shift that we have been promised. We need to figure out what it is that we want to do to take advantage of this. Again, we want to maintain some agility and some nimbleness and being able to strike while the iron is hot in the places that the iron is hottest, which is definitely, you know, on the to-do list for T.REX Labs. So as that change develops and we start to see some of these things early next year, we might need to tweak what we're doing at T.REX Labs a little bit. One of the things we might do is less content and more direct product development. But maybe, based on the things that are going on, we actually want to do less individual product development and more business and industry development. Now, I know that in the past many T.REX Labs videos, we have asked for your input. We've asked for your input on specific projects or the app or various other things or book recommendations. But I'd like to get a sense from you guys what generally you think we should be doing. Where should we be prioritizing our time? Where do we get the biggest bang for our buck and can have the most impact? Is it going to be in the educational and content side? Is it going to be in specific product development? Or is it going to be larger industry-wide things? Of course, we're going to keep doing all three because, you know, we can't really help ourselves. But knowing where we should dedicate the most time is something that we're always going to be re-evaluating. And so I want to thank you guys for being a part of the larger T.REX journey and following along with what T.REX Labs is doing and helping us to continue to plot our course through the changing landscape. One of the advantages of being at T.REX Labs is get to test stuff. That's the first 3 shots out of this thing. Can't tell yet if it gets its own holster line. It's gonna get its own video.